been there and lived the experience.
That's fantastic.
Thank you.
Of course,
thank you.
Another interesting synchronicity is of course, Teresa has always pledged herself to help others. I have done likewise, and Melinda has done likewise as well. And yes, there are coincidental backgrounds as far as life experience is concerned, with security, with working in a law enforcement capacity, in teaching others, whether it be topics in a classroom or whether it be helping others gain insight from your own personal experience. So you could say counseling's always been a role there. And then, of course, you bring in the mystical side and the psychic side and the sensitivities. Again, there's a great commonality between us all in that regards, because more or less you could say in a nutshell that your life as a whole has been on a continual path of self-discovery, so that in turn you would learn how it is to turn inward, so that you would recognize that you were looking at yourself and planning things for yourself from outside of yourself instead of inside of yourself, even though that sounds like double talk, I'm sure.
No, it makes a lot of sense.
It does make a lot of sense.
It makes a lot of sense.
But
everything you say, Richard, is accurate, and everything you've said, Shane, spot on. The dynamic and the explanation that you were able to bring to the surface is phenomenal. It's, everybody has different ways of explaining, but yours were very emotional and poignant and colorful in the sense that you fed emotions and feelings while you were taking us through the journey. And I'm so grateful to have witnessed that with you this evening.
Well, thank you very, very much. I will say that, and I know if you have to go, did I hear you had to leave at any point?
No, I'm good.
You're okay. All right. One thing I learned, and I think, thank you for your kind words and thoughts. I am so honored that you would say that. One of the most interesting things I've learned on this journey is that we get for the average person, and I see this in the military as well now, because I'm seeing it through new glasses. I'm seeing people through a new set of lenses. And so what I see with people in the military, people in policing, people in security, is we take on and take off that uniform so often and live that life of righteous living in conjunction with societal norms. You really fall into that brainwashing. And so that the uniform that you wear, and what I learned is, and this is truly for me, for myself, and I'm just speaking for me, a great insight. You see, what was so uncontrollable for me as a child, in the law enforcement profession or in the security profession, who's in control of the situation that you come across? Most times it's you, because you're the uniform that shows up to the scene. And what I didn't see was the unhealthy side of it is that we become, or at least I became, my uniform. And when that uniform was when I finally had to take it off because I couldn't go back to that job because of the PTSD, I realized only then what I had done. And I had blended two totally different things and made it one thing. And it wasn't a healthy thing. I became the uniform became me, the lifestyle became me, there was no healthy outlets. We've heard this type of talk and this type of expression. But so I teach corporate CEOs, don't fall into that uniform role where if your business goes bankrupt tomorrow, you will lose yourself along with your business. You have to remain your own person operating a business if you're the CEO. And if you're a person that's just going to work, then you're a person just going to work and you do a job, but that job does not have to become your uniform. Because life changes, as we all know that are on this call. Life changes. Never say never. I always tell people, never say never. You think you're in something that you're going to be in for your lifetime, and maybe you will. But there's a lot of people changing jobs in midstream of life to do what they really wanted to do in life, not what they were forced to do to make money.
That's very true. We never let our careers or our jobs define who we are. We are totally separate from that energy. And you're right, because food, clothing, and shelter is so important, especially with the way the economy is now. So at this time, life coaches can offer a lot of support to people if they know they're out there. So one of our jobs is to make sure that people can find life coaches and our authors. I have an independent publishing company, and I like to help people get their books out there. But, Jane, you have that special gift, I think, is there's a pleasingness about your voice. And have you never done radio prior, or do you do radio shows? I didn't ever ask you that.
That's a great question. I did do radio for a very short period of time, and then COVID hit, and our local station had to be shut down, and I had just kind of been into it for the first 3 months. I had my own weekly radio program, and I've been on many radio and television TV shows over the course of my healing, talking about what we're talking about today, without the life coach portion of it, because this is the first interview I will say that, I've really had an in-depth interview in the year that I've been a life coach. And so I really appreciate your kind words about me. But I really have to say that it is, I had somebody in the grocery store the other day, the lady that was checking at checkout, and she was checking me out all my groceries, and she said, you have the loveliest energy. And I said, well, thank you. I appreciate you saying that, but it's not really mine. It is and it isn't. It's the universe. It's that light that comes from the universe that you're seeing shine through me. So it's not necessarily me. I won't take that credit. I give that to the forces that are beyond me, that are of a universal nature, that are co-creating life, my life and my clients' lives with me. So it's really, I've never been happier. And one thing I said to my life coach is that she was the first one to introduce me to the concept of labeling. And so as soon as I was labeled with having post-traumatic stress disorder, I fell into that label. So I went from one uniform to a mental uniform. And I wrapped my arms around the label. I held on to it because it was my life raft, not because it was helping me. And so since beginning with my life coach a little over a year ago, I look at it that now it is the time for me to understand what is really going on for me. How I take what I like to say 1 minute for myself every day to say, how can I be of service to me first, and be then of better service through being of service to myself, and really taking that time to do a lot of self-care, which I do, which creates the happiness. And people then feel taken care of around me because I'm taking care of myself first. And a lot of folks I find that I work with put themselves absolutely last. Therefore,
that's important for you to say.
It
that.
is important, yeah. Yeah, they make them.
We have a lot of caregivers listening. We have a lot of caregivers that are listening. They're not just practitioners and educators, but over 9 years, I've built up a huge following of people in the medical business. My daughter died of cancer, and I met a lot of people in the integrative medicine positions that helped with music and art, and came to the cancer hospital in Tampa, Moffitt Cancer Center. So it really changed me being with her and my husband before that, or being around death and dying. But I wanted to do a life coach, so I wrote a book called Ace Guide by T.J. Morris, but it's only $10. But it's about all the life coaching differences, from coaching like people thought of as sports coach. When I said, well, I'm a life coach, it sounds better than a psychic medium, but I'm a psychic medium. My friends are psychics. To be honest. So I do all of it, but, I like life coach a lot better. But, caregivers are some of the most giving, and that's why I guess that made me want to talk about it, is you're mentioning about yourself first. And we always say, in a jet plane, which I don't know why that seems to stick with my caregivers and life coaches, is you in a plane that is losing altitude and it's going to crash. They'll always tell you to put your mask on, then you can put it on your child, which you think you can always put your children or your relatives first. But without your body and without your oxygen, and we see that, and we have to remind them to breathe, which you hear a lot of people in, life coaching and shamanism and metaphysics and caregiving, to breathe and, just take a breath. And we'll ask you to take 3 breaths and, to let your energy and anxiety release sometimes. And right now we really do want to appreciate, Shane, all the people that are giving as caregivers, the doctors and the nurses and the first responders and those in the ER and all the people helping our, sick and needy. Can you address that without saying the C word? We're talking about the pandemic, folks, but we don't want to, really buy into the negative. But can you give some caressing words, Shane, in your life coaching to all our people out there that are helping other people, to make them know that they're in our prayers and our thoughts?
You said it, Teresa. That's one question I was going to ask him.
Yeah, no, absolutely I can. Absolutely. I in this case, in this particular question, I'm going to tell you something that I learned from a great, great man, and I use it every day. And anybody can use what I'm about to tell you as a caregiver every single day. And that is to, at some point in your day, take 10 seconds. And Fred Rogers was the great man I'm talking about, the great Mr. Rogers. And I saw him speaking